Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back after another very dramatic week of the Traitors, episode 5 in the books. And boy, things are getting tense. And I'm very excited to bring in a guy who is the person that hopefully will untangle this all for us. Pooya Zambakili. Pooya, how are you?
I am good, Rob. I will try my best to untangle. Our turret, you and I, never a problem. We're smooth sailing. This is the most disarray I've seen in the turret, I think, ever.
Mess.
This is a lot.
Mess.
So much mess.
I mean, have you ever seen where like all three of the traitors are like gunning for each other, like in a total standoff right now?
It really is that Office meme of the three of them in the conference room holding weapons at each other because they don't know who to trust anymore. The trust is out the window. It's all chaotic. We made predictions last week. Some were good, some were wrong. And that just talks to the unpredictability of the traitors. And it's been so much fun so far. Baffling, but very fun.
Yeah, been a wild start to the season, and we are eating so far in Traitors season 3. We are going to have an exit interview as well on Friday. We are going to talk to the player who was murdered in this episode. We're going to have an exit interview with Robin, which is very exciting. We haven't had any Real Housewives exit interviews to date yet in our Traitors coverage. So she will be a first. We'll talk to Robin about everything that's going on. No word on Nikki. If she becomes available, hopefully we will get the chance to talk with her. And of course, you can make sure you're subscribed so you hear everything we're doing on our Traitors podcast coverage at weknowtraitors.com. Also, feedback show coming up next week. If you want to send in questions over at our Traitors feedback link, go to robhasawebsite.com/Traitors feedback. Okay. Pooya, so we end with kind of like a anticlimactic vote for Nikki. Very, very lopsided. Everybody piles on Nikki. Ultimately, the invoice came due for the coffins, and Nikki, there was nothing she can do. Even a facial reaction caught by Chrishell ends up really dooming Nikki. But the Danielle versus Carolyn, also that Boston Rob, that there's some heat on him. Danielle is trying to force out Carolyn to get a new traitor into the turret that might be more aligned with her. First off, I guess let's start off. What do you think of Danielle's plan of, hey, I don't know if Rob and Carolyn are together. What if I force out Carolyn, get some new blood in here?
I was talking to Mike about this, and I think Mike said it in a way that
Mike
was
Bloom?
perfect. Yes, the one and only, the respected journalist in my heart. Mike Bloom said that this was a very big brother move, and I agree. But we both also agreed this was a bad move, Rob, for Danielle. And here's why. Here's
how do you mean it's a big brother move?
In Big Brother, you're like,
move?
You want to go after Mike. The way Mike was moving was like, if you're, in Big Brother, if you're going after you want like to target the top person, but you're too scared of what if they win veto or they win an HOH and they retaliate on you, you can get out their friend. You put them up there, you're like a soft launch it. Okay, let's get out this person instead. I feel like that's kind of the way it can come off in Big Brother. You could try in Big Brother, but the reason why I don't think this is good here for Danielle is twofold. One, if you want Rob out right now, there's enough momentum and evidence out there that you can try and shove onto him in the shadows to get rid of him. But two, and here's my bigger issue, is that you're going after Carolyn. You're getting rid of Carolyn. What's to say that you can get the person you want in that turret?
Yeah,
with
when
you and
it's
Rob?
50-50 with Danielle and Rob, that Rob is going to strong arm and make sure that he gets the person that he wants into the turret. Everybody is really kind of pussyfooting around of like, hey, maybe I would like Rob to not be here, but I don't want to take the shot. I mean, speaking of Big Brother, if Danielle would circle back with Derek, it would seem like that there is a move that they could make to work on getting Rob out.
It's right there for the taking. And I feel like it would not take a lot to convince people either, because this is the way I see it, Rob. Getting rid of Boston Rob, let's say it's a high level difficulty because he has a lot of reputation right now. He has a lot of people backing him. Even the doubters are like kind of unsure, let's go with that logic. I would argue you're deciding to then take it a notch more difficult, go into expert mode to get rid of Carolyn, who has zero suspicion on her right now. No one's believing this.
Well, this episode started and we were sort of teased with, will Danielle and Carolyn put whatever differences they had aside so that they could partner up and potentially go after Rob? We saw Carolyn all throughout the episode that she wanted Rob out of there. And it seemed like that there was like room for the first time for Danielle and Carolyn to really work together. But Danielle felt like that Carolyn was the better target. She doesn't know. She can't trust if she's working with Rob or not.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. And obviously we talk a lot about how if someone's from your franchise there, you have to assume you're either good with them or others are going to assume you're good with them. And that's kind of what's happening here with the two of them. But I feel like, again, Carolyn has had opportunity or could have had opportunity to dig and push you to the forefront. Hasn't. Even when you approached Carolyn and said, did Jeremy say my name? Carolyn said, yes, he said your name. I feel like Carolyn's not really shown a reason for doing this outside of her and Rob being from the same show. There's really not been a lot out there. And at the same time, Danielle, Carolyn is suggesting stuff in the turret when Rob was there and not there. No one's listening to Carolyn right now. Like, you cannot imagine Carolyn's opinion is not being taken in by Boston Rob from where you're standing, or shouldn't be from where you're standing. Yeah.
So I'm really trying to make more sense out of this from Danielle's perspective, but it is a little puzzling. And look, I love Danielle Reyes. I've loved Danielle Reyes for what now? 22 years of watching and counting, 22 plus of loving, and I'll never stop loving Danielle Reyes. But, you know, I wonder, do you think any part of this is that because Carolyn, there's just no suspicion on Carolyn? People are saying Rob's name. People were saying Bob's name. People are saying Danielle's name. You know whose name they're not saying? Carolyn. The first person to say Carolyn's name is Danielle.
And time again, anytime Carolyn's name comes up, not even a suspicion, just general conversation, like, wow, she is, you know, we heard Bob Harper say she's batshit. We've seen people say she's disheveled coming into the breakfast. No, everyone's discounting her. And yes, her demeanor is kind of by design. Carolyn knows like what people are going to read based on how she's putting it out there. But the idea that you solo can mount evidence against her is very tough to perceive, especially Rob. I feel like this is a huge no-no on the heels of Rob just doing this to Bob the drag queen. I feel like in the event that you're successful and Carolyn goes, or let's say Boston Rob goes in between that, people are going to realize this trend of, oh, traitor, accused by traitor, traitor went home, and then you're next. I feel like this is bad. You know, we talked about this last week and I kind of put it out there of like, are Big Brother players the worst equipped to play the traitors as a traitor? And I said, I'm not ready to put my finger on the scale. We haven't seen how Danielle's game's going to go. This combined with the mission, which we'll talk about later, Rob, this was a very bad episode for Danielle, I fear.
Yeah, it looks like next week, this is all going to blow up at the roundtable based off of what we got to see in the previews. Do you think that one of Carolyn or Danielle goes out at the next roundtable?
I don't. I think that while there's some starting evidence for Danielle now with the mission, and then some stuff that she's putting out there for Carolyn, I don't think I'm ready to say either of them are going just yet.
Yeah. Who do you think's in more danger, Rob or Danielle?
This is such a tough question. I think Danielle, we got a lot of evidence being put there for her potential exit, but we also had quite a few people, Rob, talking about Boston Rob at the roundtable throughout the episode. Known NPC Sam Asghari said, if you're still here tomorrow, I have to look at you. And I have to imagine he's not the only one with that sentiment.
Yeah, Derek, Wes, they're both thinking about Boston Rob. So he's also in a little bit of trouble also, even though overall that, you know, he had a lot of things go his way once again in this episode. All right, let's go through it. Let's go through the episode and start with the first conversation we see is, you know, we expected big fireworks after Bob the drag queen ends up going home. Danielle plays it cool. And Rob says, like, Hey, I will never come for you unless you come for me.
I think the one time the traders were all on the same page felt like it was that coffin round. And that was more so they didn't have time to be tense. But my God, Rob, every time they've all met, it's been a little awkward, a little bit uncomfy.
Yeah, I watched a clip of Rob and Parvati were over. They're busy week.
Yes.
They made a lot of stops around New York this week, and they were on Watch What Happens Live. And Andy Cohen did like rapid fire interviews with Rob, talking about like, why did he do it? Why did he go after Bob the drag queen? And Boston Rob said it, that he says that he always goes back to, if you're not with me, you're against me. And that was the line that Bob the drag queen crossed. And, he was asked, like, did you do it because Bob was your biggest threat to win? And he said, yes, he was one of the biggest threats in the game. And so that's ultimately why he did it. And Danielle, I think very smartly, instead of confronting Rob about it, she's like, okay, I'm going to now, I understand, I'm with Rob. And she's almost going to be like pandering to Rob now.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing for Danielle is that, well, I don't really necessarily trust Carolyn either. I don't know if I have a good read on Carolyn. Rob's the more active player. At least I can maybe, keep him off right now. And if I fake the funk a little bit, he won't look at me. So, Rob, I did something this past week.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was Monday night. I started Dondi season 1 because I had not watched it yet.
Yes.
And by 10 a.m. the next day, noon the next day, I finished Dondi season 1. So I've watched the entire Boston Rob journey in like half a day. And it gave me, obviously I've watched the Survivor seasons, but this refresher made everything Rob's doing make sense to me, because this is quintessential Boston Rob maneuvers. It really is.
What'd you see in Dondi?
I mean, everything that you put out, a lot of people were talking about, which is, this is how he operates. He doesn't know he can't play a serene game. His game isn't sit in the shadows, strike while no one's looking.
He's a bulldozer.
It's very much, it's in front with everyone looking, spotlight on you, and you deliver. And this is no different. What I did admire about Rob in this episode is him actively having confessionals, talking about how he knows he went wrong a little bit, or how he's expecting people to look at him. And that's something I do appreciate from him, even on Dondi, was he's very self-aware in who he is and how he's being perceived, which I think is huge.
Yeah. I mean, he's just really, you may not agree with strategy, but is the way that he can see the board and see the game and know who he is and know how he's perceived, that he's just, I think that on a level that very few other people who ever play these games are at.
Rob, we're at the Traitors Castle, probably the one reality TV show competitively where people bring in fashion. They're trying to put fashion forward thinking in. This man somehow inspired Dylan Efron to wear a backwards hat the entirety of this day.
Okay.
That is the silent influence
Yeah.
of the next morning. Dylan's like, I'm such a huge fan of Rob. Can't believe we got this going together. And he's wearing a backward hat. It took me half the episode to clock that. Oh my God, he's also wearing a backwards hat. It's wild. The way this man can get control is something to be admired, honestly. Like, I can't believe he can't keep getting away with this, Rob. He can't.
Okay. All right. Let's then talk about the decision that the Traitors decide to make.
Yes.
Okay. So we hear first the name Sam comes up. Like, okay.
We were kind of on it. We said that last week.
Okay.
Easy one.
Yeah. I think, is that Carolyn that's saying Sam? Boston Rob says murder Robin. Danielle says break up the Bambis. Go for Gabby.
Rob pushes back on the two options he doesn't want, right? He says, Sam, we can play through Sam. That's fine. I'm not concerned. Gabby, I don't really think we should do that, which not a bad idea, because like if the Bambis stay together long enough, what happened with Nikki happens. Maybe they can't push the Nikki vote if Gabby goes, maybe. But the Robin choice, I did not agree with, Rob. I didn't think this was the right move.
Yeah, okay, so that was Rob's choice. We end up seeing that they agree. I think this was part of Danielle's plan that ultimately she just, kowtows to Rob, like, okay, you know what, Rob, you're right. You're right. Let's just go with what you want. So I think that she's, okay, I'm going to try to like reel him back in a little bit, make him feel like that, if I'm being confrontational with him, he's going to be more suspicious of me. And if I'm not with him, I'm against him. So, all right, Rob, I'm with you. Okay. So I did kind of like that. Why did you feel like the Robin move was the wrong move?
I think the logic obviously was Robin is one of the main people that is not a suspect to anybody anymore, which I do agree with. But at the same time, I feel like you've brought the housewives down to just 2 people already. You can start looking at some other numbers to dwindle. Like, while I did make the argument of maybe Nikki doesn't go there, I still do think you could have taken out Gabby. They would be like, okay, you know what? Back to the coffin. Sierra is the one we're pushing for. Sierra goes. Sierra's a faithful. Then maybe everyone's like, okay, maybe Nikki was actually the one and she did this to offset. I feel like for me, Sam was the good choice because one of the things I like about some of the other Traitors moves that I've seen on other franchises, I like when they take people out that are kind of confirmed good, but also not contributing, because then you can't get a lot of information out of that. There's not a lot of parsing that you can do. There's not a lot of things you can detect off of that. And I think Sam would have been a perfect move in that regard.
Yeah. He's just a vote for the faithful.
Pretty much. I mean, I think if we look at his votes, which I could pull up the chart, I feel like he's been in the majority almost every time, maybe not the first week.
Yeah. He's the one who also says, as you mentioned to Boston Rob, if you're still here, I think that you have to be getting banished tomorrow. We saw at the end of the episode, Rob seemed like that he was trying to work on him. So we'll see if Rob is able to turn Sam around. But ultimately, Sam stays. It's Robin who goes home. Robin was really, on the warpath earlier in the season, trying to, get avenge Dorinda. She came for Wells, right?
Yeah, she was pushing for Wells. She's also the one who fully thought Tony murdered Ayan. That happened. She was even convinced about the coffin theory. I think Robin, to me, was someone else who I thought was very easily swayable. And I feel like they were getting the exact thoughts they were trying to frame people for in the turret, Robin was picking up on from where I was standing. So I feel like keeping Robin would have been a sound choice for them.
Okay. Let's go to breakfast the next morning. Yeah. Okay. Now at breakfast, it's really been all season long. Like whoever's on the short list are the last people coming in at the breakfast to knock on the door. Has this been the case for all of the Traitors US seasons?
We'd have to go back and look at the footage because I've stopped trying to keep track of it at one point because it did become the norm. And then I think they switched up at some point. Maybe I'm missed. I think when there's less people, I think there is more of a mix up. But like we talked about, I believe it was on the feedback show, I feel like this is more of a fan service. They want the audience to not know who's about to come in through the door. But if anyone is listening to this and they're going to be on a future season, keep track of the 3 people that come in last, because they're either most cleared or maybe one is a traitor. But for the most part, they're probably going to be all safe. Okay.
Anything from the breakfast that you want to highlight? Because a lot's going on after breakfast.
There is a lot going on. I feel like some of the bigger things that came up, this is where we hear Danielle tell us that, she wants to get Boston Rob out and a new traitor could help her do that. Rob, who do you think that traitor would be? Let's play a world where Danielle does get to bring in a traitor into the turret to help.
I feel like her closest ally is Dylan, who is already like telling and snitching on her to Carolyn. And also Dylan loves Boston Rob. So I think that would be a mistake. So I don't know who Danielle's, maybe does she think that if I bring Derek in, maybe Derek is going to be more aligned with her?
If you bring Derek in, I think you're giving Derek the winning move, not yourself. Because while I do think Derek will help get out Rob, I don't think Derek will help clean up your name if it's out there. You know what I mean? He might just kind of let it slide if it's overwhelming.
Yeah. So do you have a name that potentially Danielle could be bringing in?
I mean, the thing is, Danielle wants a person that she can trust and also a person that can help her get out Boston Rob. Who is that person? Maybe a Wes. I think Wes could be a good ally, but they don't have that rapport right now. And same thing with Derek. I don't trust Wes to not want to go solo after we get Rob out. So I feel like you can't really trust that either. Dylan, I think, is who she's eyeing, but I think that's a huge mistake. You know what I mean? Like, Dylan is definitely who she's looking at from where I'm standing. And if she floated Dylan, I think Rob will be like, that's awesome. Yes, but who's getting custody of Dylan Efron in that turret? I don't know.
Because I think Rob would agree to that, but I'm not sure if Danielle's winning out on that one. Okay. All right. So at the breakfast, Nikki is saying she feels especially nervous. She feels like she has heat on her. Her name came up. And so she's not going to be doing herself any favors throughout this. That's going to get noticed by a couple of folks. But we get Ivar. Ivar tells, what is he? He repeats the story that Derek said, right? He tells Derek
West.
what Wes said. Yes.
Yeah, Ivar got loose lips, man. He tells both the Cage boys within the next 15 minutes this information.
He loves this story. Okay. That's going to be something to track. After breakfast, we got a little bit more Brittany in this episode. We were getting nothing. So a little more is true. Yeah, crumbs, but we'll take it. Because again, anytime Brittany's on screen, she is delivering. So even if she's a clear faithful with no suspicion, why are we not getting more content from her? Not sure about that. Ivar then tells Boston Rob that Wes said the only way somebody could be 100% sure about a traitor is if they were a traitor. Rob does not like this.
What's Ivar's game decision
He's
here?
Messy.
Yeah, I think he's just someone who he was just taught something new. It's like, oh, look at this bad word I learned. Look what I learned. Like, no, just keep it to yourself. But it did make for a very fun confrontation, which, by the way, Rob, did you notice Wes was wearing a full tux this whole day?
I did not catch that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just a very fancy
like Dr.
suit.
Will coming in on Dondi.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, please don't tell everyone they're awful. Don't wave $1 at them. It was particularly funny to me because when confronted, Wes definitely tries to clean it up and say, no. I was saying I would not have the balls to do that. Like, I wouldn't personally do it, but I understand. Like, that's something people, whatever. And I don't think Rob bought any of it. I really don't. I think Rob's convinced that Wes was looking at him because I think he recognizes Wes as a game player as well. Okay.
So Wes gets a visit from Boston Rob. And this was super exciting. How did you think this went?
Like I said, I think that Rob didn't buy what Wes was, because Wes opens it up with, your name's getting said a lot. And Rob's like, yeah, I heard you're saying my name. And from there on, Wes was on damage control. And I think it was on the surface fine, but I can't imagine Rob's not a little nervous about him now.
Yeah, I don't think we got a confessional from Rob during all this of what was Rob's reaction to Wes's answers? Because it seems like that Wes seemed to be caught a little off guard by this conversation.
Yeah, because when Rob confronts him and says, I heard you started putting my name out there, Wes's response, and I wrote it the way he said it, that's not true. It was like he wrote 4 N's before he said not. And I was like, that for me would be like, it is true. But it was funny because I don't know what the order of operations here was.
And if you caught that, Rob didn't miss it.
Oh, that man does not. I'm telling you, I think he's on to Wes. I think, who's he going to trust more? That Ivar said his name and then also told him that Wes said it? He knows Ivar's not that savvy, surely. Wes, though, pretty savvy.
Yeah. Okay. So Wes needs Rob to believe him because Rob, that if he is a traitor, he has all this murderous power. And so Wes is, like Derek, wary of Rob.
One of many people who actively has said, I'm afraid to put that evidence out there on Rob, because if he is what I think he is, he's capable of packing me up and sending me home.
Okay. Rob tells Carolyn, I got you. Carolyn, it's us. I got you. We're good. We're going to the end.
I believe Rob would take Carolyn as far as he can. I think in the same breath, I think that he knows he cannot get rid of Carolyn. I think he knows that this is going to be the hardest mission.
But I think he probably also slightly underestimates Carolyn.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He's like, you're going to need the carry. I've got you. Let me bring you as far as I want and then get rid of you. Little does he know, I think Carolyn's doing a stand-up job. But I do buy that for sure.
Right. I think he probably feels like, okay, Carolyn is going to be a loyal number. Where else is she going? I've got Carolyn. I just got to make her, like, pump her up and make her feel good.
Yeah, which Carolyn also, can I just say, is absolutely delivering in the confessionals. I mean, I know you've talked about your Mount Rushmore, but every episode I'm reminded of how good best. We have it.
Yeah. So Carolyn tells Danielle about, that was scary with Boston Rob, but Danielle can't help but wonder, is Rob and Carolyn an alliance? Do they have a survivor alliance that she is not aware of?
Again, I think standard, like that is a standard thought. I have to imagine Carolyn didn't do a good job of convincing Danielle here. It's you and I. Forget that man. Let's get him out. And I think for Danielle also, I can't blame her because her journey in the turret has been Bob and Danielle not listening to her. Then it was Bob, Danielle, and Rob not listening to her. And now it's just Rob and Danielle not listening to her.
Yeah.
She has no reason to believe anything's changed.
Right. And from Danielle's perspective, it's like, okay, me and Bob, we got this. We're outnumbering Carolyn. Carolyn's like the minority vote here. It's our 2 against her 1. We're kind of simpatico on what we want to do. And so Carolyn, her voice isn't going to be heard. But now all of a sudden Rob comes in and now it's like, okay, another person to deal with. But now I think Danielle's feeling like, wait, hold on. Did Carolyn know about this? Okay, could it be 2 against 1 where I'm sort of like the odd person out? You have a 3-person tribe where if we go to tribal council, I'm the next to go. My like self-preservation is going to kick in. And so, Danielle's trying to get out in front of this.
Yeah, I think also there's something to be said about the idea that Danielle's also underestimating Carolyn to the point where she's like, oh my God, is Carolyn just going to say, if you can't beat him, join him and just fully back Boston Rob now that he has control? And I think that's a scare for her as well.
Well, and the irony here is that Danielle, I think, does have the numbers. I think that her and Carolyn could be the majority against Rob if push came to shove. Like, she's already in the position that she should want to be in. I guess she just can't confirm it. She just does not vibe with Carolyn. That's not her type of person that she likes to work with.
It's that uncertainty, Rob. I wonder if that early turret session without Rob, it kind of did feel like it's 2-on-1, and now you feel like I can't go back because I've already made it seem like you're on the outs, and now how am I supposed to? Am I faking the funk? Is she going to even trust me? I think you'd start doing like a billion equations in your head of whether or not you can build a rapport with the person that you've not really been listening to for the better part of 4 days.
Pooya, anything else you want to talk about before we get to the mission?
No, I think that's everything for that up until the mission starts, the route to the mission, at least.
All right. I think this was one of the less exciting missions that we got here. We tend to get one. It's sort of like, it's just like something in a church. And have they done this on Traitors UK? Did we have this one already?
No, we have not.
Watch it again.
I can tell you, I get to watch it again. Maybe there's 2 more episodes left. I can't imagine.
Okay, so we have these riddles, which are sort of like whatever, and then if you guess the riddle, you get to then assign a player a shield, but only 2 shields were going to be given away. And so there was a little bit about who you could pick anybody to give a shield to. Every single person that gets a riddle right puts themselves up as one of the 2 shields.
Yes.
With the exception of Danielle, who twice, not once, but twice gives the shield to other people.
And on the second time, puts the photo of the person she took down the first round back up. Rob, I want to say the blunder is putting out Carolyn's name, but I think her bigger blunder this episode was this moment. I think this puts a lot of unnecessary eyes on you.
Okay, now Rob said, "What are you doing?" Okay, he did not think it was good. I think we also get from Carolyn. I think the other person who also questions it is it Chrishell. There's another player that's like, "Well, this is very odd that she's doing this." I think also Derek, that he didn't love. He thought it was very unusual that then Danielle took him off the board.
that, I feel like he could have been like, okay, I understand what you're doing. You know, you're trying to build an alliance. I get that. But why remove me? I thought we were good. Why not remove Tom Sandoval? Little does he know, in her mind, she's trying to build rapport with Tom Sandoval, believes she has something with Derek already. And
maybe that's who she's going to recruit. Maybe it's going to be Sandoval.
Oh, hell no. That is such a not move. Because that man has zero influence. There's no way.
Yeah.
I hope not.
So it comes down to at the end. So Danielle took down Chrishell and puts Derek back up. Chrishell thought that was weird. And then at the end, Sierra gets the last riddle, takes down Derek. So when we talk about murders later on, it's Sierra and it is Dolores, right?
Yeah, who have shields and are safe from murder overnight.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the riddles?
Speaking of Tom Sandoval, he had the weirdest confessional before this mission started.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, Tom Riddle?
Yeah. He said, I've read a few Dan Brown books. I've read the Harry Potter books. Voldemort was called Tom Riddle. I'm channeling my Tom Riddle energy today. And all I could think was, if you just compared yourself to Voldemort, you know more about yourself than you might be aware.
Yeah. Because that was Voldemort's name, Tom Riddle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That was his government.
Yeah, they don't call him that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But on the ride home, a lot's going on. Okay. Derek says that was weird how Danielle handled that.
I don't blame him. I feel like, especially for everybody else, it makes sense to put yourself up there. You get one pick. You want safety. If you don't go for safety, it's just like sacrificing yourself for the greater good in the pontoons in the beginning. People have no other reason but to look at you as suspect for not wanting safety. Because why are you not terrified of being murdered? I'm terrified. I can't sleep if I don't have the shield.
Nobody else did that. She's the only one.
I'm never a fan of breaking suit in any of these games. I don't want to be the first one to do any of these things because that just makes me look like a bigger target. Once two people do it, I'll do it. I don't care because now I can be like, but they did it and I thought it was cool, so it's fine. Yeah. But I just feel like it put a lot of eyes on Danielle. And Rob, not once, twice. If she puts Dolores up because she wants to save her last housewife, cool. You got a second one, right? I'm sorry, you have to give it to yourself at that point. Fake the funk. You have to.
Yeah. This worked for her in the very opening moments of the game where her and both Bob the Drag Queen were like, fine, if somebody has to sacrifice, I'll do it. I'll do it. Fine. Enough is enough. So that worked. That garnered her some sympathy, but this may be going back to the well. We're going back to the wells.
Wells Adams. Yeah.
Yes. So this was not ideal. Okay. But then Danielle, hold my beer. Okay. She tells Dylan Efron, hey, there's one person who nobody has said I think is a traitor. I've got a hunch. Okay, who's in the van with Danielle?
Dylan, Ivar, and Wes.
Okay. And Wes is already the guy who's like, hey, I only know one way how to 100% sure you're a traitor. Okay? Dylan, Ivar, and Wes. She says, that person, it's got to be a woman. There's got to be a woman. It's not Nikki. It's not Sierra. It's somebody that we haven't said their name. Carolyn.
Whew. Yeah. If there's something, because she really tries to build a world, very complicated world. She says, I think the traitors left the coffins as buffers. They're fake outs. That's one huge piece. I think the traitor is a female. That's two. And no one is saying her name. I think it's Carolyn. There are not enough pieces to pin Carolyn to this crime. I think, especially when everyone is discounting Carolyn as someone
she yada the evidence.
She did. She was just like, this very complex theory and the culprit, Carolyn. No one else is going to follow this because they're like, Carolyn, the person that we don't think knows what's going on at any given time, that Carolyn? No way. There's no way it's her. And I just feel like saying it in a car with Dylan, Dylan's your ally. You might not know his connection to Boston Rob. Cool. Ivar, the town tattletale, and Wes is a combination. I feel like later she soft launches this with somebody else, and maybe that was the better avenue. But Rob, this makes me so nervous for Danielle. It really does. This season now, we're on episode 5. Rob, is it okay if I make a prediction for Endgame here?
Sure.
I think if a traitor's winning this season, I think it's not going to be an OG traitor. It's going to be a recruited traitor that wins.
Not even Carolyn.
Not Carolyn. Not right now. Because if they get, let's say they get rid of Rob.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so, and then get rid of Danielle. They're like, who was Danielle pointing at? Carolyn. I think that could happen now. Makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, that's a good point. Once we establish if Danielle is a traitor, do we go back and we look at the names that Danielle was saying? But also, I mean, I feel like sometimes the traitors are trying to throw sus on people that aren't the traitors. So I don't know necessarily if it's like that, to say that it's definite that Carolyn would go out because Danielle said her name. I don't know necessarily that that's going to be the case.
No, it's definitely not definite. We've seen people that don't buy these kind of theories in the manner before. And we've seen people who buy them hook, line, and sinker. And I think Carolyn is one of the more outlier options where I could see where we're like, wow, Danielle lost Bob and just started peddling anything she could, huh? Huh, Carolyn? She really put your name out there like we're stupid. And Carolyn's like, yeah, that's weird. And then they just ignore it and move on. I guess I'm a little bit panicked for Carolyn right now because we went from last week, no one saying her name.
It's a disaster for the traitors.
This is a mess, Rob. This turret is a mess.
Yeah.
And I do think if we lose another traitor, we will get a recruitment, which will be interesting. But yeah, Danielle put herself on the radar. She's dragging down Carolyn with her. Now, will that stay? I don't know, but I'm very nervous for Danielle at the very least right now.
Yeah. And that recruited traitor is going to maybe have like a golden opportunity, especially if it's like Derek or Wes, somebody who knows what they're doing to be able to come up there and maybe could clean up. Could be not unlike the RHAP, the traitors that we had with Claire coming in and then really helping it to save the traitors.
Right. And I think that you get rid of, if Rob is the one to go, people aren't going to think there were 2 cage boys in the turret for a while. So I think that could have some staying power for a minute. But yeah, I'm very intrigued, Rob. This is, I'm telling you, might be the most disaster turret we've seen in ever.
Yeah.
And we're only on episode 5.
Dylan, he doesn't agree with what Danielle is throwing out. We'll come back to that later. Okay. Danielle talks to Brittany and tells Brittany, hey, the name I'm hearing, Carolyn. Brittany's like, Danielle, she's not capable. Not capable of that. That's why it's so good. And guess what? She said your name. She said your name too, Brittany.
What did you think of that move, Rob? Of then immediately be like, oh, you don't like this? Well, she said your name. How about now? Do you buy this theory now? How did you feel about that?
Like, oh, now you tell me. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like it worked for Brittany. Brittany did not seem super sus.
Yeah, that even was the argument of, right. Well, the argument of she made it to the finals. She's that good. I feel like, and I agree, Carolyn's very good. I think Carolyn should have at least gotten a vote or 2 in the final tribal of her season. But I don't think that's a great argument to make. There are people that make it to the final that are just kind of there. While I don't think Carolyn is one. I think Carolyn is on the outside looking like she was someone that got lucky to get to the end based on the perceptions they have decided for her, which I think is funny then to push that as a strong suit point.
Okay. Boston Rob, he gets Chrishell coming to him, and I couldn't believe this. Chrishell is like, hey, Rob, I gotta give you something. You know how Nikki is my closest ally? I don't trust her. Rob, I gotta open up to you, of all people.
You're good. Like, you're really good at this game.
Trust me. Don't worry about it. I got you.
How happy must have Rob been for this to fall in his lap? Like, this is the perfect.
Yeah. And we didn't even get a confessional from him about this. I thought we were due for like when. He after Chrishell talks to him, he tells her, I've got your back 100%. I thought that we were due for a like Boston Rob classic confession. Like, are you kidding me? I can't believe it. They're falling for it, hook, line, and sinker. I got them. Like, come on.
They might, yeah. I was gonna say they're saving it for next episode because he says he survived the banishment, but I think we're gonna have to open up with a more dramatic confessional from him the next one. This was so funny to me because Chrishell. So we saw Gabby last week. Gabby was like, even if it is Nikki, I'm biased. I'm not ready to say goodbye to my Bambi. It's not happening. Meanwhile, Chrishell's like, yeah, her energy was off, and she made a face. She made a face when you told her that Bob the drag queen said her name or was going to vote her. And I can't shake that feeling.
She got chills, ice water down her spine. Yeah. I mean, and now from last season, like if your best friend is a traitor, like that's a good thing, right? Not a bad thing.
Yeah. You're fine until if your best friend is a traitor decides, okay, I need to get rid of one of my friends to make it look like it's not me. But you're good for the minute, especially I feel like when there's a 50-50, just look at the other person first. Like you could hypothetically get rid of your friend next cycle, survive one more night.
Yep. So Rob is like, okay, yes, this is great. Nikki, yes, I think you're onto something. Okay. Meanwhile, momentum is building against Nikki. We see Wes and Rob and Derek, and while they're together, they're talking about Nikki. Nikki is the name everybody's hearing. We don't even really get set up like another serious name to come up at the round table.
No, we saw, what's funny is there really were three names, and Ivar opens up the round table by putting those names on blast, but it was the continuation of the coffin theory and the Rob theory. Those were the three names out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rob theory doesn't come up until like the very end of the round table. Did you feel like, and maybe this was editing, because I don't know how long these round tables last for. I felt like that Ivar like brings up Rob and Alan is like, all right, vote time, everyone. We need a name. Like I thought Rob got saved by the bell. What did you think?
I didn't think so. I think it's because that in the beginning, when the three names are put out there, Rob kind of did get to give his defense as to why, and he did exactly what you said he would, Rob. You kind of talked about this. It was either on the feedback or on the recap. You had mentioned, he's going to say something along the lines of, I was just sitting back, listening to everybody. And then it just seemed a little odd that he had all this control. Like he definitely made it seem like I wasn't going to. And then he cites Tony as, Tony's someone who got himself banished. And he's like, I watched Tony bring a lot of names to the table and then do not like go out. I wasn't going to do that. I waited for my moment. I picked the person I thought was most suspicious. And look at that. I got a traitor. And I feel like they let him off there at that point. I just think at that going into this roundtable, the feeling I had was even the Rob's full of it people were like, I'm not willing to risk it and he doesn't go tonight. So let's just go with Nikki, who we know is going to get like 5 votes. We'll put 3 more votes on it and it's done.
They saw what he just did to Bob the drag queen. I think it was Derek who said like, look, if you're going to come for him, you can't miss. So you need to have like the overwhelming evidence. It's not happening yet. We get a lot of the Nikki versus Sierra. Okay. Sierra talks about how, she had her guard up after going into the coffin, and Sierra and Nikki, have they ever talked to each other? Sierra asks Nikki a question. Have you ever even laughed with your gut?
You couldn't relate to that, right? You laugh with your gut plenty.
I do.
I do as well.
And Nikki's like, okay, I'm sorry. That's not who I am. I'm not like one of these, happy people.
I felt so bad for Nikki, and here's why. I empathetically understand where Nikki's coming from. We don't all behave the same way. Some people laugh to themselves, and they're like, Rob, this is the thing. Actually, I'm about to get into my own life for a second. I feel like sometimes, especially when I'm around company that I may not be that familiar with or comfortable with, I don't speak a lot. I'm very quiet. I kind of can be a little pensive just in my thoughts. And then they'll be like, oh my God, he's having a horrible time. I've had people tell me after the fact that, oh, they thought you hated it. I was like, I had a great time. I just don't present it the same way necessarily if I'm in a new environment. And so I understood Nikki being like, we don't all act the same. Just because I don't laugh like that doesn't mean I'm not laughing. It's fine. But in this game, you have to put on a bit of a front. So it is tough. I just thought it was funny that this was the criticism she's getting this week when the evidence against her last week was, you're a WWE wrestler.
You're a performer.
You perform. You're an actor. It's like now they're like, you're not acting enough. Where are the laughs?
Yeah. It was also very sad when Chrishell is very upset to bring this. I hate to bring this up, but there was an energy shift after Bob was gone. We felt the shift.
Are you an energy guy, Rob? Do you sometimes feel like, oh, the energy in the room's different than what it was an hour ago?
I think that I could feel like the vibes a little bit. It's probably not my number one thing, but I feel like I can read the vibes a little bit.
I definitely feel like I have that energy thermometer on me. I definitely can sense, something is not the same. But then, that's not always right. And you can get pretty annoying if you're constantly asking, is everything okay? And what happened here? Just leave it. You'll be fine. Chrishell was going through the motions though, Rob. She was really feeling bad about what she was doing here. And I think she was fully convinced that Nikki's a traitor and gots to go.
Yeah. It ends up being almost unanimous for Nikki. By my notes here, we have Dylan votes for Gabby. Gabby, that's it. I'm dead.
Gabby was not the only one surprised about this. Everyone's like, what? Okay. And Dylan's like, that's fine. I'll be on my lonely island.
Yeah. And Nikki voted for Sierra. And then that's it, right? Everybody else was Nikki?
Everyone else was Nikki. There wasn't really a lot of, because sometimes they'll do the explanations to justify their vote. The only one I wrote down was Boston Rob so clearly just blames Chrishell. He's like, yeah, Chrishell swayed me. That's why I'm voting Nikki here. So everybody, Gabby also votes Nikki here. It was the Bambis, Rob. The Bambis lost one.
Bambis broke up. Yeah. Okay. Nikki ends up standing up. She gives a big speech like, listen, we are all born different. Okay? Don't judge people.
Yeah. She was like, I'm a winner in that, I've won in that I get to go home to my son.
Yeah.
You're losers because I'm a faithful.
Yeah.
Bye.
I love everything that comes before I'm a faithful or I'm a traitor. Like the more of like a non sequitur it is of ham is a great lunch meat. Very underrated. Try it. You'll thank me. But I'm a faithful.
I love it. Build it up. Make them confused. Make them feel bad.
Where's he going with this?
Milk it. Milk your This is your moment. If the edit doesn't give you anything, if you get to stand in that circle, that is your time to shine. Take it however you want. I'll eat it up.
There once was a man from Nantucket. Yada, yada, yada. I'm a faithful. Like, okay.
Rob, you only get one of these. So pick if you in the event.
I'll work on it. I'll get it good.
Yeah. Pick your one.
Let me work on that. After the round table, Pooya, a lot going on. Okay. Wes and Rob, Wes and Derek talk about Rob. Like he's always on. He's good.
Always on.
He's good. He's always looking at us.
He's
reading the room.
Yeah. They're on high alert. They're on high alert with Boston Rob. And I think Boston Rob also, I think you can tell he's always thinking. You can tell he's always paying attention. And I don't know if this gave them the courage of they both acknowledge it, so they're going to do something about it. But at the very least, they're both very aware that Rob is aware, which is something.
Yeah. These shots of him, like when he's like sitting back in like the leather recliner, like it's just so interesting to like just watch the transformation of Rob over, 22, 23 years of these shows where, he talks about the Godfather in his very first season of being on Survivor. And he talks about he wants to be feared more than he wants to be respected. And then just like in these moments where he's in his chair and he's in the like in the study, like looking around, like he is officially like he is Don Corleone now. He is officially come into this era of like finally like his destiny of being like the Godfather of this house.
Rob, there's easily
he's in his Brando phase, and I'm not talking about your nemesis from Survivor 45.
Who? That's a person?
Yep.
Wow, news to me. No, I agree with you, Rob. I feel like, you know, there's enough influential people with his name on their lips that if they really wanted to, they could have gotten him out. I truly believe it. Just the fear factor alone kept them at bay. They're like, I don't know. They're talking in the shadows like, oh my God, is this safe? Are there anyone on us? Okay, I know he's always on, man. Like, we need to figure out how to work in this, like do this. It's incredible. And like I said, I just watched Don D1. It's the same energy there too. Granted, you know, I feel like in his reality TV career, there have been people that are very outwardly going for him, but there's a lot of people that are just like, I see it. I'm not going to touch it though. I'm not going to be the one to get burned by touching the stove. And he's hot. So right now we have to figure out and we have to see what happens. Because my thing last week was that if Rob doesn't keep winning shields, at some point, someone's going to be like, why are you still alive? And Sam brought it up at the roundtable. Like, if you're still here tomorrow, I got to look at you. How many other people are going to bandwagon something like that and use that as an opportunity? That's the question.
It's a good question. Derek tells us in his confessional, if Rob is smart, he'd murder Derek. Rob is smart. We'll talk about who do the traitors kill here. Do you think that Derek is in trouble tonight?
So, if Rob wanted to bring up Derek, does Danielle shoot that option down? That's the question. I feel like, and if we try and get into the mind of Danielle, I wonder if she'd be like, you know what? That's not a bad move because I put his name back up there. I wanted him safe. And then he goes home. That's not a bad option, getting rid of a Derek.
Do you have to split up Derek and Wes?
If he has to split up Derek and Wes, do you think Derek's the better option than Wes?
They're working together.
Rob knows that Wes is coming after him. I don't know if he knows Derek is necessarily.
Is it too obvious to take out Wes?
I think so. I think very obvious.
That's why I think that Derek, I think, is the better move. Well, let's come back to that because we got to also. Dylan tells Carolyn, somebody threw your name out.
Someone I trust said your name tonight.
Yes, it's Danielle.
This was so fun. Like, Dylan is Rob. He's very well situated. He is basically friends with 3 traitors. Like, he has 3 traitor confidants that he's working with. Friends. Yeah, and they're all traitors. All of them. I did love him telling Carolyn, you know, I'll try and talk her out of it tomorrow. He's like, yeah, don't worry, I'll put in a good word for you.
And she's like, no, tell her, do it. Bring it.
That's so funny to me because I think Carolyn knows, like, if she brings it up, they're going to look at her, not me. Like, I think Carolyn realizes the strength she has in her, the reads people have on her, the reputation, you know what I mean? Or the lack thereof.
So Dylan says after he announces that Danielle said Carolyn's name, something about she's playing a bad game. Was he talking about that he thinks Danielle is playing a bad game, or that Danielle, this was said about Carolyn, that she's playing a bad game?
I think it was about Danielle. I feel like it's more so a critique on her reads and suspects, that he's like, she's not good at this. Like, don't take it to heart.
Yeah. Carolyn is hot. Carolyn's pissed.
I would be too. After the conversation I had with Danielle, where it looked like we were like, no, Boss and Rob went sideways on us. Let's do something about it. I would be fuming because I'd be like, okay, I didn't trust Rob. Now I know I can't trust Danielle. No one's listening to me in the turret. I'm on my own, and I might have to wake up tomorrow and start potentially putting my fires out about my name. I'd be fuming.
Okay. What does Carolyn do next? Does Carolyn tell Rob about what happened.
Well, are you saying like what is the optimal move?
No, let's talk about what do we think will happen, and then you can tell us what you think she should do.
Okay. Well, I think if I were in Carolyn's shoes, I think I go to Rob and I say, Rob, Danielle put my name out. And you know what you said, Rob? You said, if you put my name out, you got to go. And Rob be like, yeah, that's exactly how I think it should go. And then he'll have a confessional where he's like, I knew she'd see it my way. This is perfect.
Danielle, what are you doing? Come on. You're
and then
gonna
I want
try to go after one of my people.
Because let's be honest, if she puts that out to Boston Rob's ears, I think Rob might do all the work again to do this. Like, I do think there's a world where Rob's the one who starts pushing, and then Carolyn can just sit back and let it go the way she wants. If she wants to add a little extra, it's like when they recommend in a recipe, like if you want a little extra heat, like throw some hot sauce in there. She'd go to Danielle and be like, all right, so Rob said your name. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, you just fan the flames there.
And I don't even know if he would need to, like, especially if Carolyn says like, hey, Dylan told me that Danielle was saying is the name. He could go back to Dylan and just like really try to like gas up Dylan. He's like, that's sus, bro. Come on, And then Dylan is like, yeah, you're right. Like, he's like, I think you should say something tonight. And then Dylan, like, because if Rob is like again, like, Danielle, traitor, like I think it's now like to have another one under his belt.
I think so. I think optimally he doesn't do that, but it's also a good get out of jail free card to have in the event that he's like, oh, this is like do or die. I have to push a name, otherwise I'm going. Then maybe that's what he does. And the difference between this and Dan doing it to Phaedra is that he's had enough rapport with people that they could maybe do something. Throwing the name out just rando at the roundtable might not work. You might have to put some legwork in ahead of time. Now, Rob, did you see the next time on?
I did. It looked like that we just got like Rob, Danielle, and Carolyn all like going after each other at the roundtable.
Just yelling at the turret. I did love the little.
Were they in the turret or in the roundtable in the preview?
Oh, but I think we saw both. I think the early bits were because in the turret. The one line I liked was from Carolyn, who said, there's nobody I want to murder other than you two now.
She says it to them. Yeah.
This is Rob. Oh my God. I can't wait. And then, yes, we do see some kind of a face-off in the round table between, I believe, Carolyn saying Danielle's name. So we'll see how that fares.
Yeah. I know. Very exciting. And
can't wait.
Carolyn and Danielle, I think that this is going to erupt next week.
Get the popcorn ready, Rob. I think we had a heater of an episode 4. Episode 5 got a little quiet. I think 6 is about to ramp right back up.
Yeah, I don't know how the back half of the season is going to be able to keep up with us. I think that this is going to be a Kat Ederson season of the Traitors, that very, top heavy.
Took me a second. I realized what you did there. I've watched the, Okay.
Also, send her to the Traitors Castle, you cowards.
I think that's not a bad choice at all, Rob.
Yeah. Okay.
Same season you're on.
Okay. Who is going to get murdered? Who are the traitors after all this? Okay.
Okay.
All right. And now, okay. So let's just let me give you the possibilities. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so not Sierra. Okay. And not Dolores. Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. All right. So we've got, I think there's 15 people left. So 10 possible names. You can't kill the traitors. Okay. Derek Levasseur.
Should they do it? Would not be a bad shout. Would they do it? I don't know. I feel like Rob doesn't really want the Cage Boys to be down to 2 people. So maybe from that regard, he wouldn't want to do it.
Okay. All right. We've got Tom Sandoval.
Listen, good candidate he's probably clear for people at the moment, but it's Tom Sandoval. He's always going to trip himself up. So there's a world they just leave him be.
Okay. Chrishell, what about she threw out the wrong name?
And gets punished by death. Oh my God.
I think she looks sus. I think she's not an option. Rob's
I don't think so.
Especially after she opened up to Rob. Rob's not letting that happen. Okay. Brittany.
I don't think Danielle lets that happen, even if the other two want that to happen.
Okay, yeah. Danielle just planted the Carolyn seed there. She's not going to do that.
That's the one non-negotiable for sure.
Dylan Efron is safe for everybody. Wes.
Wes is an interesting one. I don't think they should. Actually, no, I don't think so, because Danielle floated the Carolyn idea to Wes. If she wants to pull it off, I think she has to believe that Wes is somebody that she could convince to do this. I don't think she would want that. I think Rob wouldn't want that. It's too bait if he gets rid of Wes after he believes Wes threw his name out there.
Okay. Running out of names. Okay. Sam Asghari.
Again, should have been the one to go last night. Did not go. I think Sam publicly putting out, if you're not here tomorrow, I'm looking at you. I think it's suspect to get rid of him at this point. That's if people remember that. That might have been a throwaway in a 2-hour roundtable that we didn't see much of.
Okay. Well, I saw Rob working him at the end of the episode. So if Rob is investing in him, then maybe that's not. Ivar, loose lips Ivar. Is he overdue past his expiration date?
The town snitch really was the suspect to begin with. And then I feel like now is kind of almost in the, what was the name of the parliamentary guy last year? Shoot, I don't remember his name.
Whatever.
He was someone who was suspect in the beginning, and then by like midway, he's like opening up roundtables. He's going on monologues. So I could see a similar trajectory for Ivar. I don't think people are suspect of him anymore. So you can boot him, I think, very easily.
He's like opening up the roundtable. He's like a pretty clear, faithful. Okay, Bob Harper.
That's not a bad pick. I don't think anyone's suspect of Bob Harper at the moment. I think Bob Harper is someone who's shown to be very vocal and can choose to be vocal.
But he was very vocal towards Rob at the roundtable. He was like, Rob, I've seen every season you've ever done. Like, so to then kill him, like, is a little bit like, boy, what didn't he just call out Boston Rob?
That's also fair. So who are we left with?
Gabby's the only other person.
I think Rob, knowing Dylan is looking at Gabby, I don't think he's gonna want. Gabby could be it actually, where they're like, the Vambies are done. Dylan's looking at Gabby. We could get rid of Gabby because that was part of their shortlist last night, and it's not Sam who put his name out there so publicly. Gabby could be a good shout.
Yeah,
especially if someone starts looking at Dylan for it, which again, foolish, because why would you put someone's name down there and murder them? But sometimes the people just draw conclusions.
Okay. So Derek, Ivar, Bob, Gabby. Is the right answer Derek? Like, did we get a little, like, when Derek says if Rob is smart, we know Rob is smart. He'll kill me tonight.
I mean, that could have been the they wanted to throw an Easter egg in there for us to be like, oh my God, Derek said that and it happened. Because let me be honest with you, Rob. Derek saying, if he doesn't get me tonight, I'm coming for him. You'd think the next time on, we would see a little bit of that action or a little bit of the heat on Boston Rob, because they didn't show us the shortlist for the turret. So it's not like we're privy to who's going to go, which actually, now that I say that, they only showed the traitors in the next time on.
Yeah, we only saw the 3
that covered. Yeah,
so but especially if Rob had that awkward encounter with Wes, and he's like, okay, how do I like cut Wes's legs out from under him a little bit? Like, I do think that taking out Derek here is probably the best move for Rob. I'm not sure it's the best move for Danielle, but it does make her look a little bit good because she was trying to save Derek. In the short term. But I think Danielle's best move would be to sort of like partner up with Derek and get, encourage Derek to take out Boston Rob.
I think also in this house, the way it's set up right now, there is a world where they get rid of Derek and someone's like, who would want to protect somebody who gets murdered? A traitor. So that could just backfire on Danielle by default anyway there as well, even though I think it would be more likely to help her. Yeah, I don't know. This is last week I felt a lot more confident in the short list we put out there. This week it could go any which direction.
Okay, and it's a shorter list. Only 4 names that we're really down to. So we'll see, even though there's more potential people that they could go with. But you never know. Sometimes these traders do off the wall picks. So not just because we only have 4 names doesn't mean that that's what they're limited to. Okay, Pooya, anything else from this episode of the Traitors you want to highlight?
So I think that one last thing I want to talk about with the round table, with the turret, is that we see a very, like, we've talked about the turret being tense. This one looks like it's imploded. This is way worse. And we just saw them kind of give Rob what he wants. Who gets leeway in this turret with this next murder if they're all pointing at each other? Who's going to get their way?
Well, we've seen that Carolyn ends up folding when, the stakes get high. So I kind of feel like that she probably isn't going to force the issue. But I do wonder if, she's saying that she's saying to them that like the only people I want to murder are here. Like, I think that she might reveal that, okay, I heard you're saying my name.
Carolyn did have a confession where she said, I'm not even going to pretend we're working as a team anymore. And one of my favorite lines was, who do we want to murder? Each other. So I don't think she's faking it anymore.
Yeah.
But
look,
I also don't think she's looking at anybody, right? She's seeing
if
red.
If anything, Carolyn has shown us before that she can thrive in a dysfunctional trio.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Mm-hmm. So if anybody can figure out a way to make this work, it is Carolyn.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so intrigued now. I can't wait to see who they try and murder and how we go from there. I'm telling you, I think there's a world where next week's episode is better than episode 4. There's truly is. Okay. There's a lot of intrigue going in.
All right. So we will get together and answer your feedback questions. Go to robhasawebsite.com/traitors feedback. We love to get your feedback in the YouTube comments. So let us know if you have a thought on who is going to get killed next or something that we missed on the podcast. We will definitely go back and read those through after the podcast tonight. Pooya, what's coming up for you?
I am also talking Traitors UK. This is the finale week. We're going to be talking episodes 10, 11, 12. Then we're done. Traitors UK season 3 has been so much fun. So if you're looking for Traitors, you're thinking the week to week, it's too slow, you want more Traitors now, give it a chance. It's a very fun time. And the podcast is extra good too. Myself and Annabelle have a good time talking and breaking everything down. I'm talking 90 Day Fiance, Rob. We are in Tell All season, and it's a delight. So you can find that. Myself and Liana talking on the Pooya and Liana Lounge.
Hashtag pal.
Yeah, get involved. Add us. I'm very down. I read everything. The pal's been very fun. Liana, again, truly says some things that I don't even believe she's saying out loud. Yeah. And we've already recorded our 3rd episode that will be live Friday evening. So you can find that over there. And like Rob said, I want to echo, please write your comments in the YouTube. Shout out to everyone who has been. It's been so much fun reading your comments and your feedback, so we do appreciate that. And otherwise, find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya.
If you also want to hear more from Pooya, check out Pod Friends this week.
Yes.
Matt Scott did a great, extensive interview with Pooya about his podcasting journey. You could hear that at beapodfriend.com. Plus, check out our Dondi coverage. I also dropped an interview with Genevieve, plus one of our the latest edition in our Ask Dr. Hubicki podcast series, Christian Hubicki answering all sorts of questions. We'll have our exit interview coming up with Robin on Friday. You could hear that at weknowtraitors.com. Thank you for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.